Hello YouTube. Today on The Naughty Librarian, I am officially reading The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and this is for Drunk Classics. Here's the thing. I don't like The Great Gatsby, but I'm gonna reread it and I'm gonna be drunk doing it, so who knows what's gonna happen. This is gonna be an adventure. But luckily it's very short. There's like 160 pages. I think I'm just gonna read the whole thing, drink a bunch of champagne, come back after I'm done reading the book, and then just try to review the whole thing. I worry about how this is gonna turn out, but I guess we'll find out together in the future. But so far, so good. I'm gonna just get going with my champagne, read The Great Gatsby, and I will check in back with you guys once I am done reading this. Hello. So yes, I read The Great Gatsby. I read the whole thing. I read all 160 pages of it. Let's see what's happening with this book, because I do not like this book. You know what? I didn't like it the first time I read this book, and I don't like it this time. Surprise. Hey guys, spoiler. Surprise. So the book starts off with this kid named Nick, right? And he went to college, he went to war, he's back from the war, and he's gonna take this summer job at in I think West Egg, one of the eggs, and mind you, this egg place, it's like rich people ground zero. It's like where all the snobby rich people are. But he gets like this little house, because like Nick's saying he's poor and stuff. Like, I don't think he's that poor. He's fine. He can eat and he has a roof overhead. He's fine. He's just complaining. But anyways, we're gonna move past that. And then Nick proceeds to tell us all how he's so non-judgmental. Like, he's so non-judgmental, it hurts. Like, he basically, that's all he does. He just waxes poetic about saying, I reserve judgment of people, and then people tell me all their secrets. It's like, yeah, because you have the personality of a plank of wood. They're just talking to the wall. Like, that's why they keep telling you all their shit. You have no personality. Besides that, Nick, he goes and meets up with the rest of the main characters in this book. He goes and meets his cousin Daisy and her husband Tom and this girl Jordan Baker. Tom, he's just a cheating, drunk, racist, womanizer, misogynist. All of the bad words you could put into a human, like, put them all into him. The only like good thing about the character in the book is that he's written like an idiot. It's kind of apparent that F. Scott Fitzgerald, the author, wants us to think he's an idiot. So I'm like, well, there's that at least. Like, no one's thinking what he's saying is like, that's a good idea, eugenics, right? No, everyone thinks he's a fucking idiot, and he is. He's basically just peak mediocre white man energy. And Jordan, she's fine. She's not doing anything. She's just kind of there. She plays golf. She's doing her own thing. And then you have Daisy, right? And Daisy is the worst. I hate her. I will get into more reasons why I hate her, but like, I just hate her. Like, if I had to pick a character in this book who was most likely to have a psychotic break, it's Daisy. Like, she is not well mentally. No one is picking up on it because, you know, she's like this gilded flower and no one notices the rot inside of it. It's like, fucking duh, F. Scott Fitzgerald, beat me over the head with your metaphors, why don't you? We get the fucking symbolism. I'm sorry. F. Scott Fitzgerald's writing style is pretentious to me. So I just feel like he's beating me over the head with his symbolism, when really he puts so much effort into making these symbols in the book, and like, oh, no one's gonna pick up on this, only really smart people will. I'm like, really? It's not that hard, bro. You just put in every word you knew so you'd seem smart, but your symbols are not that hard. High schoolers read it. They get it. It's not that deep, and you tried to make it very deep. Anyway, let's go back to the story. So this all takes place kind of just over like one summer. And so Nick, he like hangs out with Tom sometimes for who knows what reason. I don't know why anyone would want to hang out with Tom. He's the worst. But one day, Nick and Tom are hanging out, and Tommy's all drunk as usual, and he's like, hey, let's go meet my girlfriend, because he's like a cheater. He's got girls all over town. He's cheating on Daisy, and he's like, let's go meet my girlfriend, because, you know, taking your wife's cousin to meet your mistress is the best idea. And mind you, he's drunk and driving his car. Like, no part of the situation is a good idea. What follows here is just like a day of the worst third wheel kind of situation. So Tom, right, picks up his mistress. Her name's Myrtle, and they go to this hotel in New York, and they buy like a puppy and stuff, and then they're all just drinking, and everyone's drunk, like Nick's drunk and stuff, and Myrtle, she starts running her mouth, talking about Daisy, and Tommy he goes full Will Smith. He's like, get my wife's name out your fucking mouth. So just adding on to the list of awful things about Tom, he punches Myrtle in the face and like breaks her nose. So on top of all of his other charming characteristics, he also beats up women. So of course he's just the worst on every level. And Nick's like, you know what? I don't want to be here anymore. I'm just gonna go. I don't even care. I don't have a ride home. Like, I'm just gonna go. So he leaves. And he just sleeps in the subway because he's drunk. And that's it. That's the end of chapter 2, everybody. There's only 9 chapters in this book, and each chapter is like a different like episode of something that happened that summer. So it kind of feels episodic in a way. But anyway, we're moving on to chapter 3 now, right? And we meet the man, the myth, the legend, the great Gatsby. And he sends a little note with like a little butler guy, and he gives him a note. He sends it over to Nick's house, and he's like, hey, you want to come to my house for a party? And he's like, oh, this is fancy. Okay. So he's gonna go over to a Gatsby party. Like, Gatsby throws like the illest parties in town. Like, all of the people go to these parties, and they are insane. Like, think of the most insane movie party you've ever seen, and then like drop acid on it. Acid, maybe just like a bucket of champagne. It is a lot. Nick, Ray, goes to this party, and it's enormous, and he's like, I don't know anyone here. I feel weird. And so he's just looking around for anybody that seems familiar to him, and finally he finds Jordan Baker. He's like, oh my gosh, I know this lady. Okay, Jordan's my new best friend for the night. So he just starts hanging out with Jordan. And eventually he meets Gatsby, and they talk for a bit, and they get along real well. And Gatsby's like, oh, old sport, let me take you out in my seaplane. Like, he's just like eccentric billionaire. He just defies any logical expectations of people. But, you know, one good thing that comes out of this party, besides, you know, Nick gets to go play on seaplanes, is that he starts dating Jordan. I mean, really, she's the only person around, and Nick doesn't even really like her. She's also just a compulsive liar. Everything she says is pretty much a lie all the time. So you can't really like take her word for anything. She's just a lying liar who lies. And then Nick, being the least self-aware person in the book, he goes on this like whole several page long thing like, oh, I am one of the most honest people I know. Look how honest I am. And I'm dating Jordan. And she's a liar, but I'm real honest. Yeah, you're so honest. You're so honest, Nick. You're so full of shit, Nick. Like, he's so full of shit. He's so honest. He's writing letters home to his fucking fiance. And like signing up Love Nick. And he's banging Jordan Baker. Like, fuck you. Here's the thing, do people like Nick? Like, are you supposed to? Because, like, I think he's such an idiot. He's like the least self-aware person in the whole book. And he's supposed to be, like, the one character you're supposed to relate to. And I'm like, maybe that says something about the human condition. I don't know, but it's just like, why do people like Nick? He's the worst too. Everyone's the worst. All of them are bad. They're all bad people. There you go. The book of bad people. Okay, so we're moving on to chapter 4, after the party. And like, side note, there's so much like casual racism and anti-Semitism and misogyny in this book. Like, a lot. to the point where you're like, oh, I mean, it's the 20s when this came out, so like some of it, because people were shitty then, and this is how it was, but it doesn't make it right still. And like a lot of the characters that you don't think are buffoons are also like spouting out this anti-Semitism, misogyny, and racism. Like Nick, like he is kind of weird to Jewish people. Again, are we supposed to like Nick? Because I don't know why people like him. It bothers me so much. Anyway, so Nick, right, it's later in the summer, one day he goes out to lunch with Gatsby, right, and Gatsby, he's at this lunch and he's like peacocking it. He's like, yes, look at me, I'm fancy, I have money, and like I was orphaned, and then I went to Oxford, and like I got a Medal of Honor from Montenegro in the war. Montenegro gave you a medal? Like, do they have medals? There's not such a tiny little country. But he's like, oh, look at this. I just have it in my pocket. Look at this. And, you know, I invented the color blue and I flew to the moon. Like, it's just like so many things he's going on and on about. But after all that, and they go to lunch and they meet up with one of his, like, work associates. Like, he's just like, okay, listen, Nick, listen. I need to tell you something, but like, actually, never mind. I told Jordan what it was, so you need to go ask Jordan to tell you what it is. Like, Nick is like, you're telling me to ask Jordan what you said. What? So he's like, okay, fucking, all right, fine. Is this middle school? So eventually, Nick goes over to Jordan, and Jordan's like, oh, okay, I'll tell you the whole story, because why does Jordan need to tell him the story? Why doesn't Gatsby tell him? It's stupid. But anyway, so here's like the big backstory here with Gatsby, what he's here. So Gatsby and Daisy, right? Like a long while ago, when Gatsby, he was like a soldier and Daisy was like a debutante, and like they met at a party, they fell in love, blah, blah, blah. I low-key think he was being a fuckboy who caught feels. The way he describes things, he was a fuckboy who caught feels. And now he's like, I don't know what to do with my feelings. So he goes to war, right? And like Daisy's gonna wait because she loves him. And her family's like, girl, please don't. And she's like, but like, I love him. And then anyways, Tom fucking Buchanan from Chicago blows into town. He's like, oh, look at me, I can lift heavy things and I hate black people. Like that's him. And Daisy like likes him for some reason a little bit, and her family's like, great, go get married. And she's like, I don't want to, I'm sad. And then she just marries him anyway. Like, she doesn't want to marry him, and I get it, Tom sucks. And like, I don't blame her for that. Like, I wouldn't want to marry Tom either. And like, also in this time period, women didn't have a whole lot of agency in this, so I get it. I understand where she's coming from in this, but she has a lot of other bad decisions she makes all on her own. So I'm not giving her any slack, okay? And for a while, I guess Tom was really charming, because like she does kind of fall in love with him actually, and they were happy for a little bit, blah blah blah, whatever. However, like I mentioned earlier, Tom is incapable of keeping his dick in his pants. He's just slanging dick all over town, all over it. She, like, on the honeymoon, he was slanging dick around town. Like, bro, how is he pulling this much tail? I don't get it. 0% get it. Oh yeah, and by the way, Daisy had a kid. She has a kid with Tom. Like she's like a 3-year-old. Like, this kid is like old enough to like walk and talk and stuff. I don't think Daisy or Tom ever talk to this child. She's just like an idea. She's not part of the book. They have no relationship with her. It's just like more people being awful all the time. This poor child, honestly, like, I'm saying it like it's a bad thing, but I'm like, having less Tom and Daisy in your life is only a good thing. So like, fingers crossed this kid turns out okay. I don't know. But anyways, back to the backstory here. Gatsby, He goes to war. Daisy gets married while he's at war. He gets back. He's sad. So he's like, okay, Daisy obviously loves me. She couldn't have married someone else. Someone made her do this. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make all this money and then she'll have to love me back. So he goes and makes all of this money, and he buys a house across like the sound from his ex-girlfriend, and then he throws elaborate parties all the time hoping she'll show up. Like, the delusion. Like, that's a lot, am I right? Like, this is his ex-girlfriend and you bought the house next to her and throw big parties hoping she'll show up. It's like, maybe it's the 1920s jazz age billionaire version of like drunk texting your ex. I don't know, but it's like, oh my word, like, move on. It's a lot. So with all of that backstory, Gatsby had asked Jordan to ask Tom if he would ask Daisy to come over to his house while Gatsby was there so he could like talk to her. What is this middle school fuckery? It's like, oh, I asked them to ask you and to ask her, and then maybe I'll be there when she doesn't know. And it's like, what? He's supposed to be a gangster. Like, this is stupid. Anyway, let's move on. Chapter 5, everybody. We're about halfway through this book. So Nick's like, all right, this is fine. I'll invite Daisy over, right? So he sets it all up for Gatsby to be there and Daisy to come over. And honestly, Gatsby is about to shit his pants with anxiety. Like, he is just so freaked out. Like, if he was strung any tighter, he'd just snap. Like, he's not handling things well. And like, finally Daisy shows up because she's not on time. She's Daisy. She shows up whenever the fuck she wants. So Daisy shows up and everything just goes from like awkward to like, oh my god, so awkward. Like, take the most awkward encounter you've ever had and like multiply it by like at least 4 times, and that's the level of awkward we got here. It's so like awkward that Nick's like, you know what, I'm just gonna casually back out the door. Like, I don't need to be here. I'm gonna go stand in the yard in the rain just so I don't have to listen to you guys like be weird. He comes back in and it's like a totally different vibe when he finally comes back, because like Daisy's crying and Gatsby is ecstatic. Like, he's like, oh, this is the best day ever, and like Daisy's sobbing. So like, there's very differing emotions here, and I have to talk about it for a minute. Because you know how like F. Scott Fitzgerald beats you over the head with his symbols? Like, this is the big moment of the book where you get like, you know, the green light symbol, which we all had to talk about back in high school. And it's like, it's not that fucking deep what you're doing. The symbol, sorry, here you go guys. If you ever have to do a book report on this as an adult, I guess it's symbolic of expectations versus reality, obviously. No one is surprised here. It's the culmination of all of Gatsby's hopefulness and delusion in this fucking green light. And once he gets what he wants, like his like dream, he achieves it, the green light isn't really special anymore. So the green light is symbolic of like this fictional thing that doesn't exist. And he thinks it exists, but it doesn't. So it's like, it's the Schrodinger's box of dock lights, basically. Like, beats us over the fucking head with it. Like, I get so angry because I feel like I'm being talked down to by like a pedantic asshole who's just using so many big words to say something very simple. And like, oh my god, it's not, they teach it in high school, for fuck's sake. If 15-year-olds can get it, it's not that hard, bro. Okay, I've calmed down. Let's move on. Let's go to chapter 6. Let's move past this. We're gonna move past it. We find out a lot more about Gatsby because like, he gave like Nick this whole backstory, and like parts of it were true, but like 90% of it was bullshit. So we find out who Gatsby actually was in the past, and his name wasn't even Gatsby. His name was James Gatz, and he was from North Dakota of all places, and he grew up poor, and he kind of just hustled his way through life. Basically, he kept finding ways to like hustle, and I'm like, I respect the hustle. I get it. I like that. And he actually made all this money not from like owning drugstores. He like was like doing shady business stuff and like bootlegging. So like he was doing criminal stuff to make all this money. Obviously, it's a shit ton of money from old. It's like, oh, I own a couple CVS's. Here's my billions of dollars. It's like, it's CVS, bro. You're not making billions on that. Like, you make a good living, but not billions. And he did all of this shady shit, all of these crazy things for Daisy. For fucking Daisy? Like, oh, I don't get it why everyone's obsessed with Daisy. It's like, it's her vagina made of diamonds. Like, I don't understand the appeal of Daisy at all. I really don't get it, but he did it all for Daisy, which is completely delusional. It's delusional. He thinks he can just erase everything that he doesn't like and he just rearranges life all around it so it fits. He could just take out whatever he wants. He's like, it doesn't matter. I'm going to blindside that. That doesn't exist. La la la. I can just start over with Daisy. Her being married, it doesn't exist. I'm not looking at this. I am willfully ignorant of things, even though you're not. He's unhappy all the time because he's also intelligent enough to know he's fucking delusional, but not sane enough to know he's delusional for sure. He's in that weird mental space where he's like, he's intelligent enough to know he's fucked up, but not fucked up enough to stop. Again, symbols. More fucking symbols. So we get it. The main theme of this book, obviously, is like, you know, the American dream is unattainable, essentially. Or like, you know, massive dreams of everything you want ever coming true is unobtainable. It's not gonna happen. That's the main theme of the book. It's like, hey, let me burst your bubble for 160 pages. And then Daisy is the symbol of that. Like, I fucking get it. I get what Daisy is in the book. She's a symbol. Doesn't mean I fucking like her and her diamond vagina. She's the thing that everyone strives for, but no one actually achieves because she doesn't actually exist. What you think she is does not exist. It's just fiddly-dee fantasy. And blah, 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 themes. We get it, it's pretentious. Like, Fitzgerald, really, are you qualified to talk about the ennui of the working class? I don't think so. I'm so upset. I hate F. Scott Fitzgerald writing so much. It makes me so angry. Okay, you know what? We only got 3 chapters left. Let's go. Let's just go, okay? I'm gonna move past this. So we're moving on to chapter 7, right? It's chapter 7. This is where the shit hits the fan. Like, everything goes very badly. You know how it was awkward and delusional before? Now it's just gonna be like, oh wow, shit took a turn. It's like the getting towards the end of summer when it's super hot out, right? And it's a crazy hot day. Everyone's like grumpy because it's hot out. I get it. Same, I get it. And Daisy and Tom and Nick and Jordan, they're all hanging out for reasons I don't know. Also, we finally meet Daisy's kid for like a hot second. And she's just so frivolous. Not the kid, Daisy. Daisy's just so frivolous that it's astonishing. Like, her daughter's just this little trinket that she'll like take out and play with for a couple minutes until she gets bored of and then sends it away. But besides that, here's what's going on with the main group. So Daisy, she's walking around still being all frivolous, and she's just straight up like kissing Gatsby on the mouth. Like, if Tom like left the room for a second, she's like, like, your husband's home. He's like 20 feet from you. Why are you kissing your boyfriend in his house? Like, girl, you are cruising for a bruising, and Tom has no problem doing this to women. Like, girl, get it together. And she's just so frivolous and like ballsy. The audacity, the gall and the gumption of this woman. And she's so flirty and careless. And like even Tom, who's a fucking idiot, is like, you two are fucking, aren't you? Like, even Tom figures it out, and he's an idiot. So at this point, now that Tom has realized Daisy and Gatsby are fucking, the mood shifts rather quickly. And it's hot out, so I don't know how they get into this plan where they're all gonna go to the Plaza Hotel. because I don't know, maybe it's cooler in a hotel somehow. No one had air conditioning. It's 1929, for heaven's sakes. So they're all going to town and they're driving cars. For some reason, Tom is driving Gatsby's car and Gatsby's driving Tom's car. I don't know why, but they stop at this gas station, right? And by the way, it's the gas station that his mistress's husband works at and they live above. The fucking audacity of Tom and Daisy. They're both so awful they deserve each other. But like he shows up at like her husband's work whilst fucking her wife, and he's just like, oh, fill her up, chap. Like, it's like, oh my word. But like in a parallel here, the mistress's husband has also figured out she's having an affair. He doesn't know who it's with though. So again, Tom's getting away with it. But like, it's like a weird thing because now they're both kind of the same but very different. Like they both know they're getting cheated on. So again, symbols, like parallels between characters. I get it. It's not hard. And the husband, he's talking to Tom and he's like, I'm going to take my wife and we're going to move west. Like, because she's having an affair. He's like, we're going to move west. We're going to do it. That's what we're doing. So Tom, his day is now gone from bad to worse. Like his wife's having an affair and his mistress is moving out of town. Like he is very grumpy. So after all that, they finally get to the Plaza Hotel. If you already thought shit had hit the fan, be aware, it had not hit the fan yet. It's about to. Tom and Gatsby are getting into it. Kind of passive aggressive at first. And then basically it just leads all up to it. And Gatsby's like, she doesn't love you. She's never loved you. She loves me. Like full drama. And Tom's like, are you kidding? and Tom is not having it. He tells Daisy, he's like, oh, you? She's in love with you? You're a fucking criminal. Daisy, do you know what he does for a living? Let me tell you. Because Tom had him private investigated. So he's like, blah, 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 blah. He's a criminal. So she's like, oh, wait, criminal? I don't know about this. And it's basically, she's just being all fragile and she's a mess. And she's like, kind of like, maybe I'm not going to go with Gatsby if he's a criminal. And like Gatsby and Tom are just getting into it. Frankly, I wish they just punched each other and just had it out. Just get it out. Just get it out. It would have been healthier for everybody. And really the boys are so mad because like she loves both of them for different reasons. And like she can't really pick, and she doesn't have to pick because why? Daisy's not a person. She's a symbol. She's the American dream. Daisy doesn't love anyone as much as she loves herself. She wants to be loved and like just worshipped. She wants to be this like imaginary dream that someone's always striving for. But as soon as like they get her, she just loses interest. So they're always chasing her. She's like, she doesn't love anybody but herself. That's Daisy, everybody. It's not hard to figure out who Daisy is. People think she's like, oh, tragic. And I'm like, is she? Is she tragic? I don't think she is. Oh, by the way, while all this is going on, it's Nick's birthday. And he's just like, it's my birthday, everybody. Like, everyone's very uncomfortable and they'd been fighting. Daisy's crying again. And like, who does Daisy love? She loves everybody. Oh, they're fighting. Oh no, there's all this tension. He's like, it's my birthday. Poor fucking Nick. But anyway, so Daisy leaves. And Tom's like, go ahead, drive her home, Gatsby. She's not gonna leave me for you. Like, he's just full on, just measure it, whip it out and measure it. Like, he's full on like that. So Gatsby's like, ugh, fine. So like, he gets in the car with Daisy and they drive off, they leave. And then like a little later on, Tom, Nick, and Jordan like head back home. And remember how the shit just hit the fan? It's about to hit it again, everybody. Like, you don't even know. So driving back to home, and they're passed by that gas station again, right? And it's just like there's a bunch of cop cars there and like all these people and stuff. And then we find out, like, flashback what had happened at the gas station while they were at the hotel. And apparently, gas station guy, the husband, right? He locked his wife in the room. He's like, nope, you're having an affair. You're getting locked in there. We're going to move west. He is not in a good mental state. And the wife, she like got out of the room and she's like, I hate you. And she like runs into the middle of the street like a lunatic, and she's trying to stop a car, and the car hits her and she just is super dead. The car hits her and drives off. It's a hit and run. And then they get like really descriptive of what the body looked like. And I was like, that is like, her boob fell off. Like, she was way dead. I don't know if you needed to have that descriptor in the book, but it was there. So, spoiler alert here, the car that hit the mistress was Gatsby's car. And you know who was driving the car? Fucking Daisy. Of course it's Daisy. Daisy's the literal worst. Why are all these guys in love with her? She sucks so bad. She literally hit a woman with her car so hard her boob fell off and like drove off. Like, Daisy's the worst. And Gatsby's like enabling this because he's so concerned about Daisy and how she feels rather than the lady with the missing boob, for heaven's sake. She killed somebody. Bro, delusion. And like Nick finds out about all this from like kind of from Gatsby. He also figures it out and he's just grossed out by the lot of them. He's like, you're upset about Daisy, Gatsby? She killed somebody. And he just can't fathom. He's like, you know what? I'm going home. You know what? Nope. And he's going home and he like looks through the window of like Tom and Daisy's house because Gatsby's like waiting for her to get to bed because he's worried like Tom will hurt her or something. And he looks through the window and she and Tom are just sitting there holding hands. Like, they're cool. They're cool. Tom's fine with her killing somebody too. Everyone's fine with Daisy killing people, apparently. So let's move on towards the conclusion of the book. Chapter 8, right? So after this whole car accident, the aftermath, Gatsby, he's still all team Daisy. He's still in love with her. Even though he knows she'll never like actually love him back in the way that he thinks she should. But again, the whole thing with Gatsby, he's constantly striving to get something that doesn't exist. Daisy doesn't exist. Cough, the American dream, cough. We fucking get it, F. Scott Fitzgerald. He's like, you know what? If people find out it was my car who killed that lady, like, I'll tell them I was driving. Like, Daisy's fine. Like, I'll take the blame for it. And, like, Nick, he's like, Gatsby, bro, like, no. Go on vacation. You can't take credit for a murder you didn't commit, bro. No, like this has gone too far. However, at this point, this is when that sense of dread starts kicking in. And I will give it to F. Scott Fitzgerald, credit where credit's due. The sense of dread he builds is quite palpable. That's all I'm giving him. Otherwise, I hate him still. Cut back to the gas station, right? And we find out what's been happening there since the mistress got killed, right? And like the husband has lost his shit. Reasonably so. He just saw his wife get exploded by a car. Like, he's like not in a good mental place. He wasn't in a good mental place to start. He's not in one now. It's even worse. And like he knew she was having an affair, so he just keeps like thinking this. And he's like, the car that hit her had to be the person she was having an affair with, because he thinks he ran out on the road because he saw a particular car. So he's like, oh, it has to be the person that she was having an affair with. It has to be that. So he's like just going crazier and crazier. And he's like, I got it. I need to go find the car that hit her, because then I'll find the person who's been screwing my wife and killed her. Blah. So he is like off his rocker. And then he does that. He like, it's like slow moving, going around town looking for the car. And eventually he does get to Gatsby's house. And you know what happens? He kills Gatsby. He shoots him while the guy was swimming in the pool. He kills him and then he kills himself. So, like, wow, that is like a big downer. So yeah, I'm sorry, that was maybe an understatement. Okay, now we're moving on into the final chapter. We're almost done with this. So Gatsby's dead, right? And Nick, he found the body, by the way. Nick's the only one who figured out he was dead, because like people don't care. Another symbol. So Nick is calling up everybody he can think of who Gatsby like knew or was like friends with, so they can come to the funeral. And like no one comes to this funeral. Gatsby's dad comes, you know, like the Mr. Gats, his original father shows up, and he's like super kind of proud of his son, but he never really even knew his son. But he's just like, wow, he has all this nice stuff. Look at my son. Like, he sent me all this money too. Like, he always took care of us. Like, Gatsby did nice things for other people, but in the end, no one really cared because people just take and take and take. Capitalism. Like, are we seeing symbols? They're beating us over the head with them. And at this point, Nick, he's just like, you know what? Fuck all y'all bitches. Like, he hates everybody. He's disillusioned with the East Coast. And New York can suck his balls. Like, he is not having it anymore. He's like, you know what? I'm just gonna move home to the Midwest. Like, the Midwest, not so bad in retrospect. So he's gonna move home. Can't say I blame him. All the people he met in like New York and the East Coast have sucked something awful. Like, he has not had a good test audience. So finally we're at the very end of the book, right? And Nick, he's in New York still. He's like right before he moves home. He's walking around. He runs into Tom somehow. I don't know how he runs into Tom. He runs into Tom. And he doesn't even want to shake Tom's hand. He's like, I don't touch literal pieces of shit, so I don't want to shake your hand. Like, it's literally that. It's like, you're gross. And like, I know what you did. And Tom kind of admits that he told the husband that it was Gatsby's car. So Tom got Gatsby killed. Because Tom, there's no consequences for him. He's an asshole and he just comes out on top. Hey, you know what? He got away with the affair. He got away with his wife killing somebody. He got away with everything. He gets Daisy, and then Daisy and him are back together. And like, you know what? Daisy, she didn't even fucking call about Gatsby. She had to have heard that he was killed. She didn't do nothing. She didn't care. No one cared that Gatsby died. So basically, here's the end of the book. Everybody sucks balls. Goodbye. That's the end of the book. I am upset. I hate The Great Gatsby. I hate it. And like, I've had people tell me, oh, it's like romantic. I'm like, is it romantic? I worry about you if you think it's romantic. Or if you think it's hopeful. Like, you're not supposed to enjoy The Great Gatsby. That's the whole point of The Great Gatsby. You're not supposed to like it. It's supposed to make you angry. So I feel like I have a fundamental understanding of The Great Gatsby. Thank you very much. You're not supposed to enjoy it. But it's so infuriating. And like, I get it. You're not supposed to like it. You're not supposed to like any of the characters in the book. But like, the symbolism is beating me over the head with itself. It's like, fucking F. Scott Fitzgerald. We get it. We know you know a lot of vocabulary words. Your symbols are not that deep. Stop trying to make them so fucking deep. They're not. And it's just, it bugs me so much that this book is like taught as like a masterpiece. And I'm like, it's really not. It's not that deep. It's just bad. Everyone sucks. Everyone sucks balls, the end. There you go. On that note, let me know in the comments down below. I don't know, what's a classic that you hate? That you feel fully justified in hating? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like. And if you want to see more videos, make sure you subscribe. And if you'd like to become a patron or a channel member, the links are in the description down below. On that note, I will see you guys soon. Bye!